can't believe you wrote on my paper. Good
Well,
morning.
no.
Welcome to the United States Sports Academy and our weekly sports talk program. With me today is two of our wonderful graduate teaching assistants, Mr. Ben Billman to my right and Miss Sarah Weber to my left. Sarah is usually our producer, but today she's going to be on camera because we're going to talk about her favorite sport, which is baseball. There's about 24 games left in the Major League Baseball season for most teams, so basically 3 weeks left. So we thought we'd take a look at what we call the hunt for October. The teams that are still playing in September to hopefully be playing in October. If you take a look at the current standings in the American League, there's still 10 teams that have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs. Boston leads the American League East with a record of 81-63. Then Baltimore and Toronto are 2 games out with 65 losses each. And right now, they are the 2 wild cards in the American League. The Yankees and the Tigers are both 2 games behind at 77-67. Seattle is 3 games behind, and Houston is 5 games behind. So Boston leads the East. Cleveland has pretty much wrapped up the Central, and Texas has pretty much wrapped up the West. So who do you guys? If we assume for a second that Boston, Cleveland, and Texas are going to be the division champions, Sarah, who do you see as being the 2 wild cards coming out of the American League?
I think Baltimore's going to make it, but I think it's going to be a race to the end between Toronto and the Yankees.
Ben?
I agree with Baltimore. They've had a little bit of a slump the last week or 2, but I still feel pretty confident in them. And I'd like to see Toronto get it too and see an AL East wild card game. I think that would be really exciting to see that 1-game wild card between
2 teams from
the
same
Orioles
division.
and the Blue Jays. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that, Toronto, their reigning American League MVP, Josh Donaldson, is from right here in Mobile. He went Faith Academy? I believe it was Faith,
I believe so,
Faith
yeah.
Academy. And then he went to Auburn for 3 years. And when I watched him play at Auburn, he was a catcher, and now he's a third baseman and a pretty darn good one. One of the things that makes is going to make this even more interesting, about 2 or 3 years ago, the Major League Baseball went to a schedule where the last couple weeks of the season they play all division. They play all division games, so they will have a lot of games between Baltimore, Toronto, and New York. I kind of like Toronto, and I'm rooting for the Yankees, but I'm not sure they can make it. But we'll see what happens. And I think Detroit has a really good shot too, because they've been playing some really good ball lately. When we did this at midseason, I think we all thought Kansas City was going to make a run. And
Yeah.
They haven't been playing. I saw they were like 24-6 in August, and they're like 4-9 in September so far. So they've really gone downhill this month. Okay, let's cross over to the National League for a second. In the National League, there's only 6 teams that have a legitimate shot to make 5 playoff spots. Washington is 9 games ahead of the Mets in the East. So we'll give the Eastern crown to Washington. Chicago's 473 games ahead of St. Louis in the Central. It only seems that way. They're actually 16 games
Yeah.
ahead. Their magic number, I think, is 1. So they'll clinch either today or tomorrow. And then in the West, the Dodgers only have a 4-game lead. But I heard on ESPN this morning the Giants have a chance to become the first team in the history of baseball to have the best record in baseball before the All-Star game and the worst record in baseball after the All-Star
Wow.
game. So it's amazing that they're still in it as poorly as they played. It shows you how well they played in the first half to build up that lead. So if we give it to the Dodgers, the Nationals and the Cubs are a given. But if we assume that the Dodgers are going to hold on to that 4-game lead with 24 games to play, who do you guys like as the 2 wild cards in the National League? Come on, Mets fan.
Well, I think that whoever doesn't win the West will be one of the wild cards. And then I think the other one is a battle between the Cardinals and the Mets. And I'm hoping the Mets keep up the good work and get that second wild card spot.
The interesting thing about the wild cards is that any of those 3 teams could definitely, the Mets, the Cardinals, or the Giants, any of those 3 teams could definitely get on a run and make it all the way to the World Series. But because the Mets got 3 great pitchers, The Giants have 3 great pitchers this year, and the Cardinals as well, with Wainwright and Waka, and I can't remember the third guy's name, but the Giants have Bumgarner and Johnny Cueto and Jeff Samardzija, and then the Mets have their big 3 of DeGrom, Syndergaard, and
Well, Seth Lugo's been pitching well lately, believe it or not. Call up. And you know what else is interesting? They were talking the other day on Baseball Tonight about strength of schedule. The Mets have the Nationals today, but then the rest of their games is all the Twins, the Braves, the Phillies, the Marlins, all teams below 500.
yeah, because they're playing in their division.
Yeah.
There was a thing on TV this morning where in the American League, the Yankees only had a 14% chance to make the playoffs, and they're 1 game ahead of Seattle, but Seattle had a 40% chance. And again, it's because of the schedule down the stretch. They use the baseball power index and figure Seattle's going to win this many games. But the Yankees only had a 14% chance.
Yeah, they got all the tough ones.
Well, and you also, for example, if Toronto and Baltimore play a 3-game series, the Yankees can't make ground on both teams like they could if they were playing outside. So Ben, who do you like as the wild cards in the National League?
I like the Mets. Like Sarah said, their schedule is super soft the rest of the way, so I think they'll get in. I agree. I think the Dodgers are going to hang on to the NL West to lead and win that. And man, I would love to see in the divisional round if the Cardinals played the Cubs in the divisional round. That would mean the Cardinals would get in, beat the Mets in that 1-game playoff, and then play the number 1 seed Cubs. I think that would be a series for the ages. That would be a great one to watch.
There's definitely one for the baseball purists. Huh?
Yeah.
A lot of people would argue that those are the 2 greatest fan bases when it comes to baseball.
Oh yeah.
St. Louis.
Yeah, those tickets would be hard to come by for that series.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I picked the Giants to win it all before the season even started.
That's right.
So I'm going to stick with
Even year.
Even year. I'm going to stick with the Giants, and like I said, I think if they do make the playoffs, their bullpen's been killing them. They gave up 5 runs in the 9th inning yesterday. Went into the 9th with a 4-1 lead and gave up 5 runs. And they can't. They even signed Joe Nathan off the junk pile and tried to use him in a closing role a couple times, and that didn't work. So they need to figure that out because I think with Bumgarner, Samardzija, and Cueto, they got the 3 horses, and we've seen in the past where really a lot of times when it comes to the playoffs in baseball, you can win it with 2 great pitchers, and they have 3. And of course, when we talk about when you see the stats from the pitchers on the Cubs, that goes without saying that they've got. Tim Kirchner was saying last night that he thinks Arrieta will pitch Game 3 of the playoffs.
I heard that too.
Because Lester and what's the other guy? Kendrick are so good at home.
Yeah.
That he said he thinks he'll save Arrieta for Game 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they
That's a good
also
problem to
said
have.
they thought Kendrick would be Game 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kendrick game.
Yeah.
Tim Kirchner said he thought Kendrick was going to win the Cy Young, which is kind of interesting. I mean, he wasn't even on our radar when we did our midseason.
No, he wasn't. I've got my sheet here, and he was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Isn't he 15-7 with a 2 point something?
He's leading the league in ERA at 2.02, I believe.
2.03.
2.03. Yeah, he's leading the league in ERA. So if kind of our consensus here, Boston will play the wild card because they have the worst record of the 3 division champs. Will play the wild card winner. So there's a real good chance that the divisional playoff is going to be two AL East teams. It'll obviously be guaranteed if Baltimore and Toronto are the winners or the wild cards, and then Texas and Cleveland could be a great series. No, I guess actually the wild card will play Texas because they have the best record. That's right. Texas will play the wild card because they have the best record, so it won't be a Baltimore versus Boston thing. It'll be Cleveland versus Boston.
It would be interesting if Cleveland played Boston because Terry Francona was the manager of Boston during that run of greatness, and now he's at Cleveland, and Cleveland's had a phenomenal year, obviously, with the Cubs, and the Indians are right there too.
So if the Mets and
Or with the Cavs, sorry.
if the Mets and Giants make it, it'll be the winner of that will play Chicago.
Yeah.
with the best record.
Ooh,
And
that'll be tough.
and then we'll have Washington versus the Dodgers in the other series. It should be interesting. We'll come back and do a baseball preview, playoff preview show right before the playoffs start. But this is just kind of our take on who we think is going to make it with basically 20 games to go. So let's take a look at some of the individual stuff right now. In the American League, Altuve leads with a 340 batting average. Dustin Pedroia is second at 332, and Mike Trout, who always seems to be hanging around, is third at 319. In home runs, Trumbo for the Orioles has 41, Dozier for the Twins has 40, and Encarnacion for the Blue Jays has 39. Man, Brian Dozier's been a heck of a story. He now has 26 home runs since the All-Star break, and he's starting to catch up. He's starting to get close to breaking some records. Davey Johnson holds the record for most home runs by a second baseman with 43, and Dozier's up to 40 now. And when he hit his 25th home run, he was the third. He hit his 25th home run in the third fewest games after the All-Star break. I think it was 41 games, but the other two were McGuire and Sosa, both in their magic year of what they did in '98. Yeah. So Dozier's been incredible, and Encarnacion's been incredible. With his 39 home runs, Encarnacion actually leads the league in RBIs with 115. David Ortiz is second with 111. And kind of wondering why he thinks he needs to retire.
Right. He's having a phenomenal year.
He's having an incredible year.
Yeah.
What I saw some stat the other day where he was on the stat sheet with Babe Ruth and Barry Bonds, and anytime you're on a stat sheet with Babe Ruth and Barry Bonds, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And then our friend Albert Pujols hanging in there with 110 RBIs. Ben and I were talking yesterday or today about who are the locks in the that are active now to the Hall of Fame, and we both think Pujols is one of those. I think the really interesting case is going to be Ortiz, because Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, Rafael Palmeiro, Manny Ramirez, all those guys that when I was growing up, it was all about numbers. Every single one of them guys would have been first ballot, absolute lock Hall of Famers with the numbers they have, but they have that steroid cloud hanging over their head. And David Ortiz actually tested positive and admitted to it, but nobody seems to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, he gets a pass on it because he admitted to it, I think.
And I think a lot of it too is and it should not be this way, but I think it is. Barry Bonds didn't like the media very much, and let it be known that he didn't like the media very much. David Ortiz has always seemed to be a pretty good guy. Sarah mentioned this morning Andy Pettitte was the same way. He said he did it to help him recover from a shoulder surgery and apologize for it and on about his business. But I think Ortiz in 5 years is going to be interesting one for the Hall of Fame. So looking at those numbers, you can tell I'm a little old school. I don't have WAR in here and all these other fancy stuff they have come up with nowadays. I still like the hitter's triple crown with average home runs and RBIs, and the pitcher's triple crown with wins, ERA, and strikeouts. Who do you guys like for the? And it doesn't have to be one of these guys who are leading stats, but who do you like for the American League MVP? Understanding, of course, there's still 2 weeks to go and a lot could happen. So Ben, who do you like right now for the American League MVP?
Well, I'm a guy when I look at value, I think value has to translate into wins and making the playoffs. So obviously Mike Trout's had a great season, but their team is terrible right now. So I exclude people like that immediately. There's actually 3 guys from the Red Sox I'm looking at right now: Dustin Pedroia, David Ortiz, and Mookie Betts. I think any of those could do it. And again, being a guy that looks at overall wins and wins equaling value, the way the Red Sox are playing right now, I think one of those 3 deserves to be the MVP in the AL.
Okay, I can live with any of those 3. Sarah?
I tend to agree with Ben. I know there was talk about Trout repeating. I'm not sure if he will.
There was a story. I think it was last weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, and David Ortiz said unquestionably that the most valuable player on the Red Sox this year has been Mookie Betts. And he's hit 3 home runs 3 different times, I think, in a game.
And he's not that far off from the top 3. He's batting .311, 30 home runs, and 104 RBIs. So you look at the lists, and he's just off the top 3 basically in all of the categories.
Yep.
So
I think Encarnacion's gonna get some votes. One of the things that could hurt him is there's a lot of really good players on that team as well. And, you know, we could see an issue where the Red Sox players kind of split the vote, and somebody else who's not as deserving
it's true.
comes in and gets it. That has happened before in Major League Baseball. Is when you have like 3 great players on one team, they kind of split the vote from that region, and it helps somebody else out. As far as pitching in the American League, Porcello, another Red Sox, leads with 20 victories. Happ for the Blue Jays has 18, and then there's 3 guys with 16: Kluber, Tillman, and Price. And Price has been pitching great lately for the Red Sox. And then in ERA, Chris Sale leads at 3.03. Tanaka for the Yankees at 3.04, and Quintana at 3.05. You can tell the difference between the league that has a designated hitter and the league that doesn't, because it's exactly 1 run per game higher to lead the league in ERA. And then in the American League in strikeouts, Archer has 217, Verlander has 216, and Price has 210. So who we like for the Cy Young right now, Sarah?
I like David Price, but I'm not sure if
You
he's
just like him
that
because
close.
he's from Vanderbilt. I think he's got a shot. You know, the tough thing is going to be Porcello sitting there with 20 wins. That number of wins doesn't seem to be as important as it used to be. Felix Hernandez was 12 and 11 a few years ago and won the Cy Young because all his other numbers were so great. I think when we sat here at midseason, we thought Chris Sale was a lock at that point.
Yeah.
He had a what was his record at halfway?
He had 13 wins at the All-Star break with a 2.79 ERA and 109 strikeouts. But he's faded.
Yeah, well, if he had 13 wins then, he's not on our list. That means he's had at the most 2 since the All-Star break, because our list goes down to 16. But he's still leading the league in ERA. The strikeout numbers aren't all that impressive this year. Makes you have more respect for what Sandy Koufax did in the '60s with 300 almost every year. Yeah, this one's kind of a toss up. There's a lot of guys out there who could win it. It'll be interesting to see. I guess if I had a vote right now, I would vote for Porcello just because he has 20 wins and he has been pitching really well, especially down the stretch. But again, like you said, you know, if Verlander goes out and pitches two or three shutouts between now and the end of the season and gets the Tigers in the playoffs, a lot of times what happens is that the sports writers remember what they've seen most recently.
Yeah.
Okay, in the National League, Daniel Murphy leads from the Sarah's Mets, leads the league in hitting at 347. DJ LeMahieu at 344 for Colorado, and Corey Seager for the Dodgers. Corey Seager for the Dodgers at 319. So one of those 2 guys, Murphy or LeMahieu, is going to win the batting title. The other guys are too far away. In home runs, Nolan Arenado and Chris Bryant are tied with 37, and Carter from Milwaukee is third with 34. And then in RBIs, Arenado leads, Murphy second. How about Matt Kemp? He was kind of written off mid-season. He got traded, and it's kind of interesting in the stats. It says in parentheses it says 2 teams instead of the other stuff.
Yeah.
But he's going to end up with 100 RBIs.
Yeah.
And I think right now I would say that Chris Bryant probably has the inside track to the MVP.
I agree.
Get back to what you said. Arenado doesn't have the wins.
Arenado doesn't have the wins. The Cubs have had such a good season, and Bryant's batting .297, which is really solid with 94 RBIs, which is just off the list for RBIs. And again, the Cubs have just been so good. I don't see how you can pass up on one of the Cubs players for being MVP.
I think some of the voters, I think that their mindset is the best player on the best team has to be one of the top 3 in the MVP.
Yeah.
And I think I would vote for Chris Bryant if I had a vote today. I think that they're going to win 100 games easily.
Yeah, I think they have to go 8-10 or something down the stretch.
They've got, let's see, for 144, they've got 18 games left. 8 and 10 to win 100. And the pace they've been playing lately, they're more likely to go 14 and 4.
Yeah.
And then pitching in the National League, you're going to see all kinds of Cub names in here. Arrieta leads and wins with 17. Lester has 16. Scherzer has 16. In ERA, Hendricks from the Cubs leads with 2.03. Syndergaard at 2.43 and Lester at 2.51. And then strikeouts, Scherzer, Fernandez from Miami, and Bumgarner from San Francisco. No real surprises and a lot of big names there.
Mm-hmm.
So real quick, as we're getting close to our time limit, who do you think is going to win the Cy Young in the National League?
Arietta.
Arrieta, repeat. Tim Kirchin last night said Hendricks, so I'm gonna go with him. Tim knows more about baseball than most of us.
I'll go with Hendricks too. He's been really playing well.
Yeah.
down the stretch.
Well, he took a no-hitter to the ninth inning.
Mhm. Two
Was it
nights
2
ago.
nights ago. Was
Yeah.
on start. Did you see that guy from? Oh man, can't remember what team he was playing for, but he had a perfect game in the sixth inning. And the guy had like a two-hopper to the shortstop and he threw it away.
Yeah, I can't think of
Broke
the
up a
guy's
perfect
name,
game
but yeah.
with an error. Okay, so there you have our quick take about what we think is going to happen in the last 3 weeks of the baseball season. We hope everybody enjoys the playoffs. We've got great football coming up in this state this week. Auburn hosts Texas A&M, and Alabama travels to Oxford to play Mississippi, and Ole Miss has beaten Alabama. Nick Saban's never lost to the same team 3 years in a row, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think the best game of the week is going to be Louisville at Florida State. But we'll see what happens, and I'm sure we'll have several shows in the next 3 months that feature college football.
And Ohio State, Oklahoma
Ohio
this
State,
week too.
Oklahoma,
It's
that's a
gonna
big
be,
one.
yeah.
Anyway, we hope everybody has a great week. Enjoy baseball, enjoy the college football, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Central Time from the campus of the United States Sports Academy. Have a great day, everyone. Are we off?
I think so. I mean, I hit pause.
It doesn't matter when they can cut it off whenever they want. When they look at it.
Stop your color. Oh God. I'm like falling apart.
Just click up here on this red dot, and that way it'll be sure to be gone.
Yeah, when I was going through my